to get it done and not have to come down here every week.
Can you articulate what that building's use will be, sir?
The building's use will be the headquarters for the SCABC, and it will also be, it will have one of the operation centers in the building.
Will that decision be finalized before all members come on board?
Yes, sir. That decision, and it's simply because Lowndes County, that's part of the contract, that's part of the grant, is that they had to provide that building for 30 months as an in-kind contribution.
So Lowndes County will pay for that building, or will SCABC pay for that?
Lowndes County will pay for the building. They will make the interest payments on the building, but eventually that burden will shift to SCABC because it'll be their building.
I guess my question is, in terms of you want to have an authority, and that sounds like a decision that the authority should make.
It's in the grant that, that's part of the grant. That particular building at that price is part of the grant. Now, I didn't put it in the grant, I'm just trying to help them.
I guess the question is, so they're using that as allowing the grant to pay for the building. If that's the case, then that's a different thing. But if the decision to purchase that building, the decision by scale, I'm just throwing this out, but it may be seem like a little premature. Other members on the authority.
Has the SCABC sent out information in terms of how cities and municipalities join the SCABC?
Nothing
So
that
that it
is
can be part of the decision-making process at whatever time. What time will other cities and counties have the opportunity to make decisions alongside of the SCABC?
The other cities and counties will have the opportunity to make decisions as soon as, to be involved in making decisions, as soon as we finish getting resolutions back from everybody and get them to the attorney that did the preliminary process of incorporating and get them included in the incorporation. And then we will have a meeting and everybody will come together and govern the SCABC accordingly.
So what is the approximate timeline of that process?
I'm hoping that we can get everybody resolutions by the 30th of April. And I don't know, Aaron McCall has been kind of watching that. I don't know how many we have now, but we have some.
Look, about six now, and 4 municipalities.
We got 6 counties and 4 municipalities. So we've got 2 more counties to go.
Yeah, we are on target.
Okay, we are on target.
Mr. Whip, I may interject. A lot of this will kind of be a recurring theme, but a lot of this balancing between what each of us individually have to do, partners, so on and so forth, with the stipulation of the grant, obviously, as we know, is a very, we've got to be very meticulous and detailed in that. So, whereas Lowndes County has any kind of contributions and they're leading the SCABC and how they formulate the bylaws and all that, it's just a process. A+ is leading them through that process of, they established SCABC, now it's, the next section is adoption with everybody else in bylaws. Well, now you got to go back to federal government, NTIA, and say, okay, well, let's make sure that everything is done in line with that, and so on and so forth. So it's just really a process, and that's where the kind of time aspect is looking at.
Absolutely. And A+, as he said, is leading them through the process. And A+ brought me to the table to actually do this, and I would not do it unless Charlie King and the other members gave me a certain amount of authority to do this. We call it interim executive director, and somebody told me I need to say executive director until I leave. But interim executive director, because I don't want to be out there as a consultant when I talk to you and you and you and you about this project. I want you to know that I represent the project and not anyone.
We have actually a number of questions that are related to the authorities so I was wondering if we could shift focus back so Mr. Brown doesn't have to stand up too much longer. If you could jot down your question, and when we get to the section on the authority, I promise we will go over all of these questions and make sure everybody feels comfortable about this process before we move on. But if we could shift focus back so Mr. Brown's not just standing here all day.
Let me just say first, I apologize for my scribbling, my chicken scratch. We can pretty this up, and if you're interested in getting a flow, we can create one and send it to your distribution list.
Okay, great.
With the assignments and what they're assigned.
And while you're there, Mr. Brown, can you draw one additional diagram? So you may have to flip the page. People are interested to know how the cash flows through this project, from franchise fees, of toll fees that will be paid in from internet service providers, both public and community, and how that flows through the authority back out to the communities. Can you draw that diagram?
Well, in just a 30,000 foot view, you've got the SCABC. You've got the SCABC, and you're going to have ISPs, internet service providers. There'll be 1 to N internet service providers. Some may be offering cable TV services. Some may be offering broadband. Some may be offering UVerse bundle services, right? So they are not all the same. They will connect to the ring. So there will be a physical connection from the service providers in or from their MSTPs or from their equipment. They will physically tie in to the network. And according to the law, we cannot forbid anyone from connecting to that network. It's an open architecture network, right? So as the ISP connects to the network, there is a fee that is charged. So let's say Frontier, I'll just use Frontier, comes in and they want to offer services to the constituency in Selma. Well, what are the number of units? What's the proclivity of the take rate? What are the service? What's the signal strength? What are you offering? And there's a fee that ISP or Frontier is charged for that connection.
And who will negotiate these fees with the ISP so that they know who to be in touch with?
Well, as it stands now, there is a proposal on the table which has not been fully fleshed out that a nonprofit LLC will oversee. Oh, sorry. There's a for-profit LLC that will be responsible for negotiating the fees and the rates these ISPs will charge.
What's the name of that organization?
Can't give you that yet.
It hasn't been formed yet, right? Or it has?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, that's the Alabama LLC.
So it's
That's the Alabama Broadband LLC.
the Alabama Broadband LLC.
Alabama Broadband.
Hang on.
I think really detailed discussion of this at this time is kind of superfluous because they haven't been flushed out.
Yeah, I mentioned to you
They haven't been
before.
flushed out. I don't want to get a long discussion about it,
Yeah.
but they haven't been flushed out.
But rest assured, whether it's the SCABC or some other some other for-profit organization will be responsible for negotiating those fees with those ISPs. Okay. Then the fees will come into the SCABC for managing. Bills have to be paid.
What I'm trying to figure out right there, and I know what you're saying about not flushed out, the issue is, are ISPs gonna be coming on immediately?
Immediately as soon
In
as
other
that
words,
works
like,
out.
as Selma Alabama is built out, internet service providers are gonna be putting their ISP equipment physically into those knobs, and they will be serving the people of immediately. Okay, and so in between that time, that issue of who will be negotiating those contracts with those ISPs, we work, that's not being worked out now at all?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so the issue is, but the entity that's working it out hasn't been formed, or hasn't been decided. That's what I got.
When you say the issues formed, there's an entity that's been formed, okay, just as a filing statement. As again, the process, we've got to look at matching grant compliance, the cash match, their requirements, ISP requirements, and our own desires from a team standpoint. So you have four elements that all have to be factored in.
Grant.
The grant compliance,
Okay.
ISP, they dictate a lot. Of course, that's where the money's coming from, and of course the team, what we desire. Of course, yeah. And of course, the cash match and investors. So there's basically four key components that drive this. So when we say, hey, we're flushing that out, yes, if we had an investor last year, went into this and like that probably would have been already flushed out. Right now, we're right in the heart of it. So as we said, we're in 2 weeks into underwriting. All this is going to get flushed out between matching all four of those items.
And then we've got to lay on top of that the wishes and desires of the SCABC.
Right.
Right? So, because at the end of the day, SCABC is going to own this network.
Is that happening simultaneously at least?
Every day.
Yes.
With CIC as well?
SCABC knows what's happening in the process, and SCABC will assure you that when it's finalized, it will be to the best interest of SCABC.
And I'm just looking at this from an operational standpoint. The ISP sign-on process appears to be within the realm of SCABC and not another organization. From what I'm seeing, I see mixing of the construction side and the operational side when I see the formation of an organization that's going to oversee the actual MSAs and the sign-on fees assigned. That's an operational aspect that may need to be considered more exclusively by SCABC, because anything negotiated on the front end has ongoing implications on exactly how SCABC manages that on the backside.
Let me say this. But let me say this, and this might not be simple. It might be complicated. But let me say this. SCABC will stand up with your support and your backing and make sure that it stands in its correct place. That's why I went to a certain attorney's office a few days ago and almost got on my knees and asked him to join me in this process to make sure it happened. SCABC interim director have no loyalty, no agreement with anybody but SCABC to make sure that when I leave South Central Alabama, that you have what you think, what you thought you was gonna have the first day you signed out. And that, and that's how you have to do it. So I'll say, since I've said this much, I'll say this much. I am totally opposed to a private, for-profit organization receiving and dispersing funds. Because I know that there's such a thing as trustees, and if we need a trustee, we use a trustee. So I think that's going to be part of the negotiation when we get to that point. And my presentation is going to be trustee, 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 trustee. I don't want you as an individual or a small company that just stood up trying to tell 10 counties in X number of cities in a federal Indian reservation